Hi, my name is Shike. I'm a private TSP for the Conservation Reserve Program. I'm located out of Alexis, Illinois. I chose a job in the conservation field simply because it suited my personality the best. It never really seemed like a choice to me. I was always interested in wildlife and biology and that sort of thing, and kind of the landscape. And growing up on a farm here in Alexis, always being involved with agriculture and hunting and fishing, it just seemed like I wanted to love my career and whatever my job was, and wildlife biology, conservation just seemed to be the obvious choice for me. Conservation to me is simply being a steward to the land and taking care of it and making sure that it's the best land that it can be, the best property that has the potential for. And looking at it from the standpoint of like Aldo Leopold, he said that God giveth and God taketh away, but he's no longer the only one to do so. When an ancient ancestor invented the shovel, he could plant a tree, and when he invented the axe, he could cut it down. So he became a giver and a taker on the landscape. And that's the way I look at it is, your farm or your piece of ground is what you want to make of it, and how you conserve it and how you treat that ground for future generations or right now is all up to you, and having that personal choice and that responsibility, so to speak, of taking care of the ground and making sure you're managing it in an appropriate manner. The Conservation Reserve Program is simply the most applicable program out there. At 32 million acres for our national cap, it's something that a landowner can apply to his farm and property in whole fields or parts with buffers and conservation strips, and really manage his property in a way that's going to be helpful to his agricultural operation and also to the wildlife and our erosion control and water quality. And really, that's what brings it all together on managing a farm in an appropriate way, so you're highly efficient, but you're also being a good steward to the land. I felt very fortunate. I knew what I wanted to do from an early age, and always wanting to be a wildlife biologist in some form or fashion. So through high school to college at SIU, got my degree in zoology with a wildlife biology concentration, and after I did that, became a habitat specialist with Pheasants Forever in Ohio, and was actually putting the seeds in the ground, planting native warm season grass and doing the conservation for the landowner. And I was fortunate to go to Nebraska and work as a farm bill biologist to actually write the contracts and several different programs of EQIP, CRP, WIP, and those sorts of things. And that's what really gave me the tools that I needed to come back home and go off on my own with my own venture of Ease Habitat Solutions to be a private TSP. Going off on my own was always my ultimate goal of having my own habitat management business. And I'm just feel very fortunate that I had the experience with Pheasants Forever and learning on how to work with private landowners out of a USDA office. But getting out on my own, I feel like I can provide my clientele with a lot more variety, whether they're an absentee landowner that is only interested in having the ultimate wildlife hunting habitat, or if it's a private landowner that has to be enrolled in a conservation program and they need very specific standards and procedures of being in that program. And I just think that I can do that now, and being back home, closer to family, was pretty important to me. CRP is really going to be the cornerstone of my business and how it functions, and being able to provide a kind of a start to finish on writing those contracts to working with the landowner on actually implementing those practices of prescribed burning, planting, herbicide application, mowing, whatever it is, to kind of start to finish their contract and get them enrolled in the program. If I had any advice for a young conservation professional just coming into it, really just learn the NRCS process and go out there when you're meeting with your private landowners, listen to what they have to say about their concerns and their objectives for their property, and then kind of tailor their planning and their contract to them. If they are really interested in wildlife habitat, you can go out and design a really nice wildlife friendly plan. If it's just that they want to plant it to grass, you can do that too, and just tailor that plan to what the customer needs. CRP is pretty important to me because of what I do in my spare time. I like to hunt and fish, and having big contiguous blocks of grassland where I can pheasant hunt and call coyotes is pretty important. And just having that diversity on the landscape that's not all the same, it's nice to mix it up a little bit. So that's why CRP is pretty important to me. I'm Evan Shike, and I completed the CRP readiness training because it really was a new opportunity and a doorway for me to get certified and begin working as a private TSP to provide conservation to private landowners and be the cornerstone of my business like I would like it to be. I'm Evan Shike, and I'm a face of CRP.